She doesn't love you. She never truly loved you. She only loved the idea of you, the image of a safe man, a calm harbor in the middle of life's storms. And now, even that idea, even that harbor, has become boring to her. She just needed you to believe she loved you. She needed you to nod along to the perfect little play she staged, so she could feel like a good person, a kind, decent woman, before walking away and leaving you alone with nothing but ashes. Does it hurt? I hope it does. I truly hope you feel that deep, ripping pain in your chest. Because in this case, pain is not your enemy. It's your loyal messenger. It's the alarm bell ringing from the deepest watchtower of your soul. It's the scream from the raw, pure, unbroken core of who you are. What some seekers call the true self. That self is trying to break free from the tiny prison of your ego, from the social mask you've worn so long you've forgotten your real face. Value this pain. Don't push it away. Don't drown it in fleeting distractions or hollow comforts. Sit with it. Feel it, because this pain is the first crack in the fortress wall you've built around yourself. And through that crack, for the first time in years, a ray of light can finally break through. If this message resonates with you, give us a like and hit that subscribe button. Let's keep exploring deeper together. Now, go stand in front of a mirror. Look at your reflection. Really, look into those eyes. Do you see that good man? The gentleman who always hurried ahead to open the car door for her. The thoughtful one who remembered every anniversary, from the very first day you met to the day she brought home her first cat. The man who always knew exactly what to say, exactly when to say it. Like an actor who had memorized every line of the script. That man, in the language of depth psychology, is called the persona, the social mask. He isn't really you. He's a carefully designed costume, a uniform you put on every day to be accepted by society, to be liked by her friends, to be approved by her family, and most importantly, to be loved by her. You've spent years building it, reinforcing it, polishing it every single morning. And then you made the fatal mistake. The same one most of us make. You started believing that mask was your real face. You forgot that underneath that flawless mask is a real man, slowly suffocating. And here's the tragedy. The man in that mask is invisible to her. Worse than invisible, he's predictable. And in the secret language of female desire, predictable means death. Not death of the body, but something even more terrifying. The death of curiosity, the death of longing, the death of aliveness. You've become a sweet, gentle melody, but with only one note, played over and over. Forever. Think about Mark. He's the perfect boyfriend on paper, the kind every mother dreams her daughter would marry. Every morning at exactly 7:05, he makes Jessica a cup of coffee, exactly the same way. 2 teaspoons of sugar, just a splash of oat milk. Every Friday night, he asks her what movie she wants to watch, and they both know the answer will always be the same. A light, harmless, romantic comedy on Netflix. A movie safe enough not to stir up any intense feelings. He's built a relationship with zero risk, a perfectly safe zone. But picture this, a garden that's been meticulously cared for. No pests, no weeds, shielded from every harsh weather. It may be perfect, but it's also lifeless. For Jessica, being with Mark was like living in a perfectly climate-controlled room set to 72 degrees Fahrenheit. All day, every day. At first it's pleasant, comfortable. But soon, her soul starts craving a storm, a strange wind, a sudden downpour. Anything to remind her she's still alive, that the world out there still holds something unpredictable and wild. Your relationship, like Mark and Jessica's, has fallen into emotional entropy. It's a brutal law of physics, but it applies perfectly to the soul. Any closed system, without new energy coming in from the outside, will eventually slide toward chaos, decay, and collapse. Your good guy persona, with all its stability and predictability, isn't bringing in new energy. It's a stable system, yes, but it's the stability of a coma, deep beneath the layer of consciousness that seeks safety. There's an older, more primal level of her mind that's screaming. There's a creature every woman carries inside her, something written into the DNA of her soul over millions of years of evolution. A creature she herself doesn't fully understand, and sometimes even fears. This isn't just biology, it's an archetype. It's the animus, the primal masculine image that lives in a woman's psyche. The animus isn't a literal monster, not some brute or abuser. It's her inner guardian, the compass of her soul, always pointing toward strength, wholeness, and growth. The animus isn't drawn to the calculated politeness of the persona. It craves raw energy, untamed strength, the unpredictability of a man who dares to be himself. It longs for the part of you you've carefully buried deep in your subconscious, afraid it might make others uncomfortable. Her animus instinctively looks down on the man who lives only through his mask, and it's unconsciously drawn to the man who has dared to walk into his own darkness to find his real face. Have you ever wondered why women say they want a sensitive, kind man, but end up drawn to guys who sometimes make them cry? That's not masochism. It's not bad logic. It's a deep resonance of the soul. Her animus isn't seeking pain, it's seeking truth. The man who makes her cry, for better or worse, is often a man who lives unapologetically as himself. He doesn't wear a mask to please her or anyone else. That authenticity, even if it has rough edges, is far more alive and compelling than your polished, positive facade. The animus recognizes a man who isn't afraid of himself, and to it, that's the ultimate sign of strength. Pay close attention. Think back to the way her eyes lit up when she talked about an ex who treated her badly but was full of passion. Or the way she got obsessed with a complex villain in a movie. That light in her eyes wasn't admiration for cruelty. It was recognition. Her animus saw in those figures an energy you lack, the energy of a shadow accepted and integrated. The shadow is everything we deny in ourselves. It's the psychological suitcase where we stuff all the things we don't want to admit. Anger, greed, selfishness, aggression, dark desires. In your effort to be the good guy, you tried to kill your shadow. You repressed it, locked it away, and threw away the key. But that other man, he didn't kill it. He learned to dance with it. The monster women crave isn't violent or cruel. That's a shallow misunderstanding. The real monster is the man who has integrated his shadow. He's unpredictable because he isn't bound by the fake moral rules of the persona. He's the man who can't be tamed, boxed in, or fully controlled. You, on the other hand, are an open book, a book with only one chapter, written in language so simple it's boring. You're everything her persona says she wants, and for that very reason, you're everything her primal animus instinctively rejects. If Carl Jung were asked to write an analysis of love in the 21st century, he might say something like this. At the instinctual level, love is nature's trick to make us reproduce. But at the level of the soul, it's a battle, a ruthless war between false safety and risky growth. And in that war, the civilized man, the one who fights only with his persona mask, always loses. Do you know what a woman really means when she says she wants an emotional connection? She doesn't want a logical conversation about feelings. She wants to feel directly and intensely. And the most powerful, transformative, addictive emotions never come from safety and stability. They come from uncertainty, from risk, from touching the mysterious terrain of the subconscious. The monster she craves is the man who makes her soul question itself, the man who creates an empty space where desire can take root. And you? With your unconditional love and constant availability, you've filled every inch of that space. You've pulled out every sprout of longing the moment it appeared, afraid it might make her uncomfortable. You've become the overzealous gardener who creates a perfect desert. Napoleon Bonaparte conquered nearly all of Europe, but he couldn't conquer Josephine's heart. The emperor of the world reduced to a beggar for love, writing tear-soaked letters pleading for her affection. Sound familiar? Of course it does, because you've begged too, not with words, but with actions, by being available 24/7, by replying to her messages instantly, by putting her and her needs above everything else in your life. You've been begging for crumbs of attention, while her soul, unconsciously, longs to feast at the lavish table of a man who never asks if she's hungry. The monster doesn't beg. The monster is hungry, but not for her. He hungers for conquering the outside world. He hungers for purpose. He hungers for power over his own destiny. He hungers for the journey of individuation, the path to becoming whole, to becoming the truest and greatest version of himself. And it's that hunger, the one she could never satisfy alone, that drives her wild with desire. Thomas Hobbes said, "Man is a wolf to man." Carl Jung might amend that. Man is a sheep to woman, when he forgets he was born a wolf, when he rejects his own shadow. You want to know why your relationship died? Don't look at what you did wrong. Look at what you stopped doing right. You stopped being dangerous. You stopped being a mystery. You stopped being an adventure and turned yourself into the final destination. Safe, predictable, and painfully boring. The monster she craves. The man who has integrated his shadow has 3 qualities you've lost, or maybe never truly had. This isn't a checklist for you to copy like a robot. It's a mirror, so you can see what's missing and begin the journey inward. First, a purpose bigger than her. A man without a mission, without an ultimate purpose, is like a ship without a rudder, drifting aimlessly in the ocean of life. He'll cling desperately to any port he finds. And in this case, that port is her. Paradoxically, this turns her from a partner into an anchor, a psychological burden. She ends up carrying the responsibility for his happiness and sense of meaning. The monster is different. He has his own lighthouse, his own North Star. He may invite her aboard his ship, but that ship will sail toward the lighthouse whether she's there or not. And this doesn't make her feel abandoned. It makes her feel strangely safe. She knows she's on a vessel with a destination, captained by someone who knows exactly what he's doing and where he's going. Her presence is a choice, not a necessity. Second, the ability to say no. The integrity of boundaries. The ability to say no to her comes from something deeper. The ability to say yes to yourself, to your mission, to your time, to your values. When you can't say no to her unreasonable or trivial demands, you're silently sending a message. My time, my energy, my goals matter less than your momentary wants. That's not love. That's a lack of self-respect. Picture a fortress. Without strong gates and watchmen, the ability to say no, it can't protect its treasures or its sacred space. A man without boundaries is an open city, easy to invade, and ultimately not worth conquering. Her respect for you will always match the respect you show for your own boundaries. Third, emotional mystery. The depth of an inner world. You've spilled your emotions like a teenager in his first love, thinking that total transparency and sharing every thought would create closeness. But you made a fatal mistake. You turned your inner ocean into a shallow pond. You showed her everything, told her every fear, every insecurity. Now, there's nothing left for her to discover, nothing to be curious about. The monster doesn't hide his feelings as a tactic. He simply has an inner world so rich, so complex, and sometimes so contradictory that it can't all be put into words. There are jungles in his soul he's still exploring himself. There are caves he's never stepped into. His mystery isn't a strategy. It's the natural byproduct of depth. And it invites her to be an adventurer with him, instead of a tourist shown around a pre-packaged itinerary. Jung spoke of potential and action. You are pure action. Everything is done, expressed, completed. No potential left. The monster is pure potential. He's restrained power, the strength that could erupt at any moment, but chooses not to. That tension between what he could do and what he chooses to do is what keeps a woman on edge, hooked. An informal but conceptually accurate study, once said to be done at Stanford, tracked women's brain activity while texting with two types of men. One who always replied instantly, and one who was more unpredictable. The results were crystal clear. Dopamine, the chemical of desire and reward, spiked not when they received the message, but during the waiting period. From the unpredictable one, uncertainty, anticipation. That's the most addictive drug the mind can know. With your constant availability and predictability, you've become the antidote to her addiction. Nietzsche declared that God is dead, but what people forget is the unspoken second part. Along with him, the archetype of the Great Father, the masculine ideal women could respect and admire, also died. It's been replaced by the sensitive, safe man, the one who killed the beast inside himself in exchange for acceptance. The modern monster isn't the alpha flexing in the gym. That's just another social mask, another role. The real monster, the whole man, is the one who has faced his shadow and integrated it. He has the power to destroy, but chooses to build. He has the ability to wound, but chooses to protect. And she, with her intuition, knows that he could destroy. That conscious control over latent power is what excites her at the deepest level. You have no beast. You've chained it in the dark basement of your subconscious. You sacrificed it on the altar of kindness and harmony, and with it, the deepest source of your attraction died. It's a cruel paradox. She wants to be the most important thing in your life, but she'll start to lose respect for you the moment she succeeds. This is the trap millions of men fall into. You've made her your entire world, and in doing so, shown her just how small your world really is. The monster understands that sexual polarity works like the two poles of a magnet. In your effort to blend, you've neutralized your polarity. You've tried to become like her, to understand her, to empathize with her so much that you've lost yourself. You've become an energetic dead zone with no current running through it. Do you know why women sometimes constantly test men? The little provocations, the unnecessary drama, the unreasonable demands, they're not just annoyances. They're polarity tests. Her animus is poking you, checking if you're solid, or if you're just an empty shell that will collapse under pressure. And every time you've failed the test, you've caved, you've soothed, you've apologized. And with every concession, your attractiveness evaporates a little more. Do you want to know the darkest secret of female desire? It's not that they want to be dominated. It's that they crave the power to choose the man they allow to dominate them. And they're not choosing you. Because your dominance is fake, the monster doesn't go around dominating others. He dominates himself. He's mastered his shadow, his impulses, his fears. That self-mastery is the ultimate power. Who loves more, suffers more. Carl Jung would say the answer isn't to stop loving or to love less, but to love from a place of fullness, not scarcity. To love from a self that is already whole. You love like a beggar, holding out your bowl for scraps of affection. The monster loves like a king, bestowing favor. A man who would still be a king, with or without his queen. And here's the most brutal truth of all. She didn't leave you for another man waiting in the wings. She left you for the hope of another man. The fantasy of a monster somewhere out there is more valuable and attractive to her than the reality of you. Hurts, doesn't it? Good. The monster she's looking for isn't on Tinder or in the bars. He's an archetype, an energy, a promise of something greater than the emotional mediocrity you've been offering. We've reached the end of the road of brutal truths. And you know what? This isn't the end. This is the beginning of the greatest confrontation of your life. There's no magic formula, no 7-step course to becoming the monster. Because the monster isn't built from the outside. He's discovered from within. He is your repressed shadow. He is the rage you've never allowed yourself to feel. He is the healthy selfishness to chase your own purpose. He is the wildness you traded for civilization. You don't need to become someone else. You need to stop pretending to be someone you're not. You need to take the courageous journey into your own darkness to reclaim the parts of yourself you've lost. The monster every woman secretly longs for is the man who respects himself more than he craves her. He has a life bigger than any relationship. He can love deeply and completely, but can live perfectly fine alone. He's the man you once had the potential to be, before the fear of rejection and the fear of loneliness spiritually castrated you. Do you remember being a child, fearless, when the world was your playground, not society's prison? When you didn't need anyone's permission to be happy? That wild child, that primal self, is the father of the monster. But you killed him. You sacrificed him on the altar of so-called responsible adulthood. And now, here you are, still alone. But alone without dignity, without purpose, without fire. The monster isn't perfect. He makes mistakes. He doubts. He fears. But he acts despite fear. He lives to impress his own soul, his own ideal self, not to please others. And that is the fundamental difference. You don't need another how-to manual. You need to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. You need to stop chasing women and start chasing your own wholeness. You need to understand that the monster they crave is not a costume you can put on. It's the shadow you must be brave enough to unleash from deep inside. The final question isn't whether you can become him. It's whether you have the courage to walk into the dark and set him free. Because once he's out, there's no going back. You will never again be the tame, nice guy, begging for scraps of affection. And yes, I know that's terrifying. That's why so few ever dare. Wake up. And when you do, when you finally begin the journey to face the monster within, don't do it for her or for the next woman. Do it for the boy you once were and betrayed. Do it for the man you could have been, but buried alive. Do it for the sacred wholeness of your own soul, because the only alternative is to die while still alive, living the life of a mask. To continue this journey, hit like and subscribe for more deep dives. Thank you.